Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mainstream Indie Music channel. We are going to talk about an interesting story this week. And the story is about what happens when a band makes it, essentially, an indie band makes it, a group of friends make it together in the musical world, but due to either pressure, due to musical differences, or maybe just a reason that's been unreleased amongst the friends, the band seemingly just splits up. Now, it's a story as old as time, right? Especially in the music industry. There's always that label, one-hit wonders. You know, think of the movie That Thing You Do. The friends all are recording together. Suddenly, people hear about it. They make it big. And they even end up on the biggest shows. And the big shows I'm talking about here for Phox was multi-continental tours. Multiple performances on Tiny Desk Concert on NPR. Major music festivals as well. Touring with big indie bands at the time, such as the Lumineers and The Head and the Heart. This is all with just one album being recorded and done, with one major single, Slow Motion. That's where Phox was at that time. And I'm not saying this to chastise the band, because like I said, you never know what happens amongst closed doors with band members. You know, you don't know. We don't know the dynamic. We don't know the circumstances. And it's hard to tell because in some interviews, the way it makes it sound like is there were some hurt feelings, but then there are other interviews where, like Monica and then even other band members, seem to be at peace with the idea that Phox ended. So that's what we're going to talk about here. But before we do, of course, thank you so much for tuning in to this channel. I can't believe we're well over 600 subscribers. You know, I always tell this story. I remember specifically the time when we were in flux between like 45 to 50, it seemed like for like a month straight. And all of a sudden, it seems like daily there are new ones coming in. I'm so appreciative. So Phox was formed in 2011. And the interesting thing is Monica was not in the band initially. There was 4 other bandmates at the time. And Monica, while she was friends with some of them, if not all of them, I'm not quite sure, but she at the time was a hairdresser, pretty much trying to figure out what she wanted to do with the rest of her life, if she wanted to continue doing that. She did have some family. I believe her sister is on a major public radio network. So it's not like she was completely cut out of the industry, but she didn't see herself as talented. You know, she lived in a small suburb in Wisconsin, and she was pretty content with her life. She was happy. Now, what happened at the time is 4 of the band members had gotten together, and so far, they even had released a couple of EPs, which they distributed quietly amongst the local music scene there in Wisconsin. But they were going for a big concert, state concert, you could say at the time. And they were looking for a missing piece. And what's funny is Monica said that while driving one day with one of the band members as a close friend of hers, she was singing along with either the radio or singing along with a song maybe on Spotify in her car. And her friend recognized her voice and said that, well, let me get you in connection with a band that's up and coming. She performs with them at that concert, and they're hooked. They immediately know that they have found their missing piece. And what they did was they went through and either re-recorded or redone songs off of their first 2 EPs with Monica included. And so I would say that would be the birth of Phox, the beginning origin story of Phox and how they came to be. Now, what's really cool is they were recognized from that concert and from distributing their music locally that they got to open and tour for another band and tour the country essentially on a very heavy North American tour. But their biggest break was in 2013 in Lollapalooza. They were added to a slot last minute and agreed to do it. That actually ended up being one of the best decisions that that band could make, because even though they were doing a midday show, which is typically not very popular, you imagine if you've ever been to one of those concerts, it's usually the evening is, well, of course, when the headliners come out, but that just typically tends to be the more busier slot. But they garnered such a big turnout and such big support from that concert that it started to catch attention to their musical peers. This got them the break that they were looking for. The Lumineers offered for them to tour along with them around the end of 2013, and by 2015 they started on a huge tour with The Head and the Heart, which ended up launching them into, I would say, the full stratosphere. They got to do, like I said earlier, a multi-continent tour. That's when they got pulled to do a show on NPR, a Tiny Desk concert, and they were also asked to do major festivals. However, in 2016, on their official website, Phox said that they were performing one last show about, I would say, spring, early summer 2017. And this was going to be their farewell show, which is actually pictured here. They performed the farewell show, and that was it. Phox was no more. They had released this self-titled album, which is on the screen right now, and that was the end of the band. They have not released anything since that farewell show. They have done no new music. Now, what's interesting is, this is just from Monica's standpoint that I've seen this. I don't know, of course, I'm not close to any of them, but I don't know what the full story is. But in some interviews, Monica states that they weren't fighting, and there weren't musical differences. She said that amongst, I would say, I believe she said over half of the band. So at the time they had about 6 members. So you imagine about 3 or 4 of them said that they believed they had achieved everything that they thought as a band was possible. Now, she thought this was just the beginning for her. The good news, Marcus Mumford has recognized her and has signed her on to play with him in some smaller festivals. And she has performed with artist James Blake. So a happy ending. I'll see y'all next week.